Hello, everybody. I am Rex Sykes. I am surrounded by powerful, positive, fabulous people who we're going to talk to you a little bit about Leadership Week because we are on the eve, the precipice of Leadership Week. It actually begins tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time, May 1st. It's a Wednesday. And if you want to be there, you want to join us. If you're watching this now, you want to go to laleadershipweek.com and register so that you have access to all of the replays. But I want to tell you, I've got the incredible Donna Campbell, Dagmar Fleming, Jim Miller, Julianne Meyer, and Parisa Rose. So since this is about leadership, I'm going to ask Donna to start, but we're going to talk about leadership as being a role model, because it's one thing to say I'm a leader. It's another thing to actually lead by demonstration. So what say you, Donna? And then we'll go to Dagmar. We'll just go around the panel.
All right. So the question is,
how do you as a role model exemplify leadership?
How do I exemplify leadership? That's really interesting. That it's a great question, because in my past, honestly, and I'll be real humble here, I never really put myself into a leadership category. But one of the things that I noticed that always happened, no matter what job I was in, what position I was in, you always moved up the ladder. And you were always at the top, or the top where you can be no matter where you were. And then I also noticed that other people started looking to you and asking questions. So how do you put yourself or define that role or see yourself as that role model? I don't know that I ever really have. But in any community, in any organization, at some point or another, they figure out that you know what you're doing, and they show up and they start asking questions. And then your whole calendar's booked helping everybody else. So it's really by example, by what you do. It's not a mindset thing. I think it happens naturally. You either are or you're not. You can learn leadership skills, but I think there's an underlying energy to it. And like I said in the beginning, I never really put myself into a leadership category, but it tends to happen no matter what. And I say that very humbly. So it's just showing up and doing what you know how to do, doing it good, helping others along the way. And there you are. So that's how I see it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. And appreciate that. And Dagmar?
Well, I love what Donna said, because similar to her, I never aspired to be considered a leader, and yet have been thrown into that position, especially when I started the Athena Circle, which is our membership organization for women entrepreneurs that seek holistic growth. And when I started that organization, my original intent was just to gather women together so we can support one another. But I immediately had to ask myself very deep questions: who we are, what do we stand for, what are our values, how are we going to represent these values? And I think part of leadership is knowing exactly what is the vision that you're bringing to other people. How are you lifting them up? How you're elevating their visions? Because as John Maxwell said, it is not lonely on the top unless you're a hiker. If you're a leader, you're bringing the entire tribe with you. So I'm so looking forward to this LA Leadership Week, because we will be able to hear from so many fascinating, cutting edge trailblazers, outliers in the realm of leadership, and how they bring the vision to the world and their communities.
Well, thank you for that. All right. Awesome. Thank you. And Mr. Jim Miller.
Well, I believe that leadership came to me by being led by individuals that demonstrated specific leadership qualities, particularly integrity and the ability to see through any barrier that most people, including myself, would see. And so having their vision, seeing the world through their eyes, and seeing what's possible in the face of the impossible is what I believe are some of the best characteristics that a leadership role can have, and as a leadership model. And that is is to be able to help people see beyond their own limiting beliefs, their own fears, and see what's possible, right? Just unlock the possibility of the world to them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Unlocking possibilities is what Leadership Week is all about too. So that's excellent. Thank you. Julianne.
Thank you, Rex. When Donna and Dagmar were talking about how they rose up through the ranks, it made me think about how that's my story as well. And it made me think about how there are bosses and then there are leaders. There are people who are put in charge, but there are leaders. And it does not matter what position you are in a company or anywhere. You are a leader. If you are a leader, it has nothing to do with your title. So I love that idea of it being energetic and taking people with you. And, it's kind of like I've worked in places where there have been people in charge of me, but everybody comes to me for all of the answers and comes to me to help. And that is leadership because we are all on the same level. I'm not looking down on anybody. I recognize people's brilliance and help people shine through their brilliance. And I think that that's what a good leader does is able to see that in somebody else and mirror that back to them so that pops out of them as well. Otherwise, what's the point? You can't be good at everything, and we don't live on an island by ourselves. We do life with other people. So why can't we all shine? And I think a good leader brings out the shine in everyone. Up, you're on mute.
Good. People jump in. That's a lead for you, right? You're on mute. No, that's very cool. I appreciate that. No, I agree. I think a good leader helps the other people shine. Not about the leader shining, it's about the other people shining. And I'll be honest before we go to Parisa, I hate the term leader. I think it's been overused and overmarketed and oversold and because it implies that there are leaders and there are followers. But to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower. And to be a good follower, you have to also kind of be a good leader. You can't just, have nothing going for you. So, Parisa, let's go back to the original question. A role model, how do you exemplify leadership?
Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I feel like my response is very similar to what Donna and Julianne had shared, that I initially was considered a leader, called upon to be a leader when I was in high school. And I wasn't seeking it out. I was just doing my own thing. That was it. Just doing my own thing. And I remember my teammates would naturally gravitate to asking me questions or seeking me out or, learning advice from me, different things like that. And then the coaches, and it just continued to domino and have this like ripple effect across my whole life. And I feel like I also do agree with you. I feel the same about the word leadership or leader. I feel like it really separates us from one another when we use it a lot, or we don't set an appropriate enough context. So the context, because I'm willing to say leader or leadership now, it's only and always from this context that you are first and foremost your own leader. You lead your own life and you lead others from the quality in which you lead yourself. And really, if you're leading yourself, if you're leading others, but you're focused on leading yourself the best you can, then really they're getting that quality of leadership that you already have established within yourself, which you don't really have to focus on the parts of leadership or, seeming leadership that feel disconnected from one another. You get to just show up as yourself. And so coming on and joining you guys with these different streams, and even for what's coming up for this whole week, it becomes so easy because it's embodied. It's just who I choose to show it to be, leader or not, label or not. It's just me.
Beautiful. I want to throw a couple things out there and then have you respond. And we can go the other way this time. We can start back with, say, Jim, and then go to Donna. But here's a couple of thoughts. One is I think that leaders are put in a leadership position based on merit, that other people see a value in them and they elevate them to the position of leader. And that's far more powerful and far more profound than someone going, I'm a leader. Because there are a lot of people who want to lead for all the wrong reasons. They want to be in the front of the room because it's cool. They think it's cool. but to do what you were talking about helping other people to shine, to care enough about other people, and to actually rise to the moment. Now, I'm going to give you a brief personal moment. My daughter would never consider herself a leader. I mean, that wouldn't be the first words to ever describe herself. Yet she rises to the occasion. She does what is absolutely necessary. She's incredible in a crisis. She takes charge. She supports people. She loves people, and she helps people. And she's gone through incredible difficulty and incredible hardship. And through it all, although I'm sure she has those days of, oh, I hate life, she's always sees the light at the end of the tunnel and always goes, I can get through this, and I'm going to help you get through that. But she would never let anyone, if I said, hey, your leader, she'd go, Dad, get real, I'm no leader. But she truly is. She embodies that because that's who she is. And I know that's who you are, each of you. And I'm lucky to call you friends and colleagues and benefit because you are leaders, but you don't brag about it. You just do what's necessary when the time comes and help people to be their best selves because you want to be your best selves. And so you pass that along to the people around you. And I just, one, my hat's off to you. And two, some people are good in crisis and some people aren't. What is it about people who are able to have a presence of mind to understand that the hardship is part of the journey? And we were going to start with Jim.
With me?
Yep.
Well, the hardship, listen, leaders do things that most people don't want to do. Leaders do the hard things. Leaders take on the hardship and get through it. And that can be a single mom. That can be someone with a, with a physical challenge. That could be anybody. And a leader is not only someone who faces difficult times, and maybe it's through their faith. I know in my own particular case, I'm strongest when I'm down on my knees, and it's just leaders are people who take on the world where the world and meet the world where it needs to be met, so that others can survive or prosper or like my purpose for doing this whole leadership week is to leave a legacy for the next generation, for the youth, for children and grandchildren and young people that they're not finding their leadership on TikTok or Instagram, or it's like, where's the leadership coming from? So it's the Los Angeles Tribune, Mo Rock's commitment and his dedication to making this platform the #1 leadership platform in the world, which we intend to do. And we're on that, and we will lead that charge. We will lead that charge so that we can create for the world, is particularly, like I said, for youth, so that maybe it's used in schools, so that maybe it's used in training, whatever the case may be. But I mean, all you got to do is just look at universities right now and the state that they're in for whatever reason. And I don't mean even politically, I just mean educationally. And you can see that there's a dire need for leaders in this world to set examples and step down and meet people where they are so that they're relatable, right? Not just speaking from a pulpit or speaking from a platform, but stepping down to the ground, meeting people where they are, and pacing and leading them into their own journey. So anyway, this is where I am.
Well, I appreciate that. And I want to, we started with the premise of role model, and you said, being an example. And that truly is what I would argue is one of the most important things about leadership is to walk your talk. Donna.
Yes. I don't know that it's hard. I think leaders do the things that nobody else really wants to do from time to time, because you can be in any organization, literally the janitor taking out the trash and the bottle washer to, the accountant, to paying everything, to the cleaner, to coaching and, mentoring an employee. And it's those types of acts that people see that put you into that leadership category because you're not afraid to get your hands dirty. And that's what leaders do. And they show up for the task, whether it's hard, it might be challenging, whatever it is, they show up for the task to make it better for everyone. But while we were talking about, what a leader is, I actually looked up on my phone the definition of leadership, and it sent me to the word leader. So then when I looked up the word leader, it sent me up to the word lead, which then one of the definitions happens to go back to our horse example about leading a horse from yesterday. So I had a little moment there where I was laughing. But I know many of you are out there watching, and we see you there. If you know how to define leadership for you, definitely share a comment here because we'll highlight it. I want to know your thoughts. But all of my co-hosts here and my co-producers, I'm going to challenge you, because all of us have 7 days together listening to experts, over 20 celebrity experts on this topic. And I think Webster Dictionary needs a new definition. So let's redefine it. And after the 7 days, let's come together, and even all the ones watching online, share your thoughts, and maybe we can shift, because really it's more than leading a horse. That's what I'm going to say.
Very cool. Well, somebody said on the panel, I won't point out who, you got to go back in your memory and decide who that was. It says there are leaders and there are bosses. And,
Yes.
especially, and you know who you are. And especially, if you're a boss and you want that leadership role for your employees, then you do clean the toilets and you do sweep the floors and you do everything that you expect anyone else to do. And you show them that you're not too big, too highfalutin to do the things that need to be done. And then other people can emulate that and go, wow, if she or he is willing to do that, then maybe I should be willing. I mean, I think that's a great point that was made earlier. Dagmar, it's your turn.
Well, thank you, Rex. You used the word hardship and leadership together, and it made me think when I was listening to all of us in our discussion. I don't think it's hardship. It's more about standing in the power of your authenticity and being able to say, there are times when I'm strong, there are times when I'm weak, but I know where I'm going, and I know where others are coming with me, or others rely on me to show them the path. And if we can be vulnerable and very transparent with how we show up, then the parts of us that are strong and the parts of us that are weak will be equally appreciated, because there is no Superman or Catwoman or Spider-Man outside of the movies. We're just human. And as the famous saying goes, ergo sum, humani es. I probably butchered it, but essentially it means I'm human, and everything that's human is not new to me. So I am going to correct myself. Nihil humani ad me alienum puto. So nothing that's human is alien to me. And what that simply means, as leaders, we show up transparent. And when we made a mistake, we acknowledge it, we correct it, but we are there with the community, with the team. And I think that's not a hardship. That's just a lesson and evolution that we're all going through.
Oh, awesome. There's something that you said that I liked too. And that, is that, and I think that ought to be pointed out, is that when leaders are weak, they can look for help too. They know to ask people and find the resources around them, because no leader, nobody should do this alone. We're all in it together. Parisa.
So as soon as you asked that initial question, two things came to my mind. One was that, and this is in particular to like crises, right? And how anyone can orient themselves within that. I think number one, a leader, or a characteristic of a leader, is someone that keeps the bigger picture in mind. Now, the essence of a crisis is immediate, in real time, remedy, solution, action, execution, and the element of making sure that you're not getting caught up in that moment is thinking about the bigger picture. And for me, the way I like to break that down is really what are you allowing, or what are you choosing to have this now moment crisis mean? And the way you relate to it, what you make it mean, can determine how you experience the whole thing, and how long you hold on to it, or how long it's impacting you, or how long it's feeling heavy, or how long you're not able to see a solution. Because when we're in that mental crisis, when we're in that heavy or heightened emotional state, we're not able to see the solutions necessarily in front of us, because we're hyper focused on what's going on, the fire that's in front of us, right? So there's nothing wrong with focusing on the fire, because you got to take the fire out. You got to extinguish that fire, and you got to get the fire extinguisher. You handle it. You make sure that you know that this is not life. This is just a moment in life, and that no one is their moment. It's just a moment in their life. So I know I said the same thing like 4 times, but
That's important.
I'm like, I riddled myself. But it's so important, I feel, because some things take a lot of fires to really become extinguished. And I think that it's important to really allow that to be okay.
Very cool. Very cool.
You know, and I think we get discouraged, or we can get discouraged, even leaders, you know. So I think that really is just knowing that it's like this moment, keeping the bigger picture, that it's not all of life, it's a moment in life, and the meaning that you're associating or making it mean, attaching to it.
Fantastic.
Here. Yay.
I had to come in for that. Oh my gosh. Like, absolutely. I was moved by your answer, Parisa. You know, you're not your moment, right? And one of the things that that really gave me a lot of courage in leadership is one of the words from one of my leadership mentors, Ash Gandahari. And it was that transformational leaders make more mistakes in 1 year than an average person will make in a lifetime, because we are willing to go where people have not gone, you know, where others aren't willing to go. So consequently, we make a lot of mistakes, you know, we make a lot of mess, you know. Who can relate with making a lot of mess? I'm like, I make a lot of mess, right? Because that's what leaders do. You know, we don't wait for a pattern. We don't wait for someone to show the way. We take it on. And consequently, we are the ones who make the most mistakes. But that's how we move life and our road forward. So yeah, making a lot of mistakes, and you are not your mistakes for sure. So thank you for that, Parisa.
Wow, well said, Ava. Well said. And Julianne.
Thank you, Rex. You know, everybody has said so many things that I agree with. And, you know, I can't necessarily say it better, but I'm going to put my spin on it as well. And the thing that I always tell myself when I'm in crisis is all is in divine order. And for some reason, that just calms me instantly down. It might not be what I want. It might not be what I like, but all is in divine order. Everything will work out. Now, I don't know about you on the call here, or even those who are watching. As a leader, I tend to do great in crisis. I just next indicated step, I'm fabulous, but something small might take me over the edge. And that's when I have like my breakdown. But because being a leader, you have created a community, you have created an environment that is supportive. That's when you get to be human and not perfect and show up exactly as you are. All your wins, all your losses, all your mess ups, everything that you do, if you are honest and authentic about where you've been, then that gives other people permission to do that as well. That gives other people permission to make those mistakes and move forward and be a leader in their own lives and in their own way. So just by being who you are and sharing that with your community, you are making a huge difference. We kind of think of leadership as having to be perfect and at the top. But as we've all been discussing here, that's not what it is. It's not you're above everybody else. You're creating a community, an environment for thriving and shining and growing and being all of the best things that you can. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to co-sign somebody's crazy story, but I might call them out on it. I might, but in a kind way. And I would hope that I would create an environment where somebody would do the same for me. And as a leader, I'm willing to take that sort of feedback and move forward with it. Because how else do you learn? It's that's making mistakes, like Ava was saying. It's okay. How do you, as long as you keep moving forward. If you don't have the result you want, then you keep moving forward until you do. It might not look the way you originally thought, but you keep moving forward. And that's the only way.
Very cool. I'll tell you what, we're going to close out here in maybe 10 or 12 minutes or something, but I want to go counterclockwise this time too, and start with Ava. But before we do, I want to point out again that you can join us May 1st through 7th, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and it goes till about 5 p.m. Pacific time. But, there's some latitude in there, and it goes 7 days, 8 days, who knows. But, this is just a teaser for the conversations that are really going to happen with incredible speakers, close to 200, during the time that we're together. So register at laleadershipweek.com because you're going to want to have the replays, and you register, it's free. You get the replays free. And we got a networking event coming up for those who are registered after the fact. So you're going to want to register so that you be there, because we know you work. We know you have leisure. We know you have families. We have all sorts of things. You may not be able to watch it all while it's live. So register in order to have access to it after the fact so that you can still participate and still benefit from it. I'm going to throw something out here that I'd like you to address, and before we close out with final, comments from everyone. But the idea is this: people identify leaders based on what they perceive the leader knows that they don't. For example, have you ever gone to a swanky like black tie event, and they've got 18 different pieces of silverware, and everything goes in a certain fashion, and you use a certain spoon or a certain fork for a certain thing, and you have no clue what to do? What do you do in a situation like that? Most people, I think, if they're wise, look around for someone who looks like they know what they're doing, and they then do what that person is doing. They kind of model the behavior off the person who looks. Now, they could be wrong. They could model the wrong person who's doing everything wrong. But it's critical. Did you know that eating your soup this way, for example, in highfalutin circles is not cool? You're supposed to eat your soup that way. So when you're in these kinds of situations about money and prestige and all this kind of influence, most people look to the people who seem to know what they're doing. So that being said, the idea of a role model, the idea of being an example, the idea, and by the way, the leader that's doing it in that particular context isn't saying I'm a leader. Mm-hmm. They're doing what they know to do. And I would submit that leaders know what to do for the most part, not always, but they know what to do based on their own expertise, based on their own experience, and based on the responsibility and the accountability that they assume that other people may not be willing to do that. And that's why other people look to them to find them in the world around them, not just because they say they're a leader, but because they're doing what's appropriate in the context in which it's appropriate. Any thoughts on that? And we're going to start with Ava. And then we'll work our way up, Julianne, and around back to Jim.
You're on mute.
Ava?
There we go.
I just realized I'm talking to myself. So in looking at role models, and patterning after looking at someone who probably knows what I'm doing, what I really look at in a role model is someone who's visionary, who's able to throw a vision big enough that it requires more than ourselves. And I also look to a leader who can communicate a vision, and who's willing to take the flack and take the risks, to be able to create a vision. So to me, role modeling wise, that's what I look up to. And I'm okay for leaders to not be perfect. I'm okay for leaders to make mistakes, for as long as there's a vision. When we're treading an uncharted course, everything is an experiment. It's a discovery. It's and I feel like there's no judgment in that, but it's leaders who are able to cast a vision that I look up to. I'm complete.
Thank you for that. All right, Julianne, back to you.
Thank you. I love what you said. That is absolutely amazing. I love the idea of visionary. And the thing that I was thinking about is for a long time, I didn't know the difference between counsel and advice. And, who am I asking? Who am I going to? Am I looking at somebody that I love and adore for some counsel, but really they're just giving me their advice? There's a huge difference. You really need to be able to look at somebody, and you don't even have to necessarily like who they are, but they have something that you want and they've already done it. So it's okay. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And the thing too with, picking leaders to follow or like learn from, because I don't like that word follow, but people to learn from, is you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater either. You don't have to take every single word that they say and make it your own. That's where you have your own leadership and you take what resonates with you and run with that. Now, sometimes you want to step outside of that box a little bit, and that's great. And that's where you have your vision, and there won't be somebody that you can look to. However, that's when you have your counsel as well. There's people who can give you an outside view and maybe have a different opinion, and you take it for what it is and decide what you're going to do from there. So that's what I would say about, looking to others for guidance.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And before we go to Parisa, how about if you have comments in the chat, you can leave comments. You can say, hey, I'm going to be there at LA Leadership Week. I'm excited about this. And if you have questions, you can put them in there too, because during the week, some of those questions can be answered. If we're not going to answer them here tonight, but you can have that question out there so people can see it. Parisa, please.
I think it can be as simple as looking around to identify a leader or someone to model after is someone who's saying yes to the moment. And I agree with so far with everything that's been shared. I'm like, and I think that sometimes we get to, it can be so simple as just who is saying yes for the moment, even if they don't have the vision, but they're willing to stick around to discover the vision. And they're willing to let it be messy while in the discovery of that vision and that mission. And it gets to be that easy. I think I'm just so focused these days on how we can connect this idea of leadership. And I agree with you, Julie. The follower word, I don't really care for. I'm like, just like walk alongside me. Walk alongside me. Don't follow me. Walk alongside me. And let's create one big shadow together. We'll all walk in the light. Like no one's behind me. And I just think it can be that easy as who's saying yes for the moment, even if they're scared, even if there's uncertainty, even if there's no plan that is, in the foreseeable future. Like who's saying yes? Who's letting there be that element of risk involved? So that's what I would say. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you so much. And Dagmar.
Rex, thank you for raising this question about who is a role model these days, because with the prevalence of social media, influencers, young people who have tremendous following for the clothes they are wearing or the meals that they are preparing, challenges they take, we really need to start asking ourselves the question, what is the definition of a true role model and a leader? And recently I saw on Facebook this amazing post that put American model next to Alyssa Carson, who's a 19-year-old astronaut who is has become the youngest person in history to pass all NASA's aerial tests and is preparing to become the first human to travel to Mars, a 19-year-old woman. And have we heard about her? What can we learn from her and her leadership? Is that the role model that we should emulate? So as this LA Leadership Week unfolds over the next few days, I hope we will dig into what Donna said. What is the true definition of leadership in 2024 and beyond? And I'm really excited to bring forward those true definitions so that we can start following people that take us to the new consciousness and true empowerment.
Wow. Good. Great. That's cool. Thank you. And yeah, we have a lot to learn from our youth too. So fantastic. Donna.
Yes. And I was thinking about your question, Rex. I've been in rooms where people who were leading the event would say things like, you never want to be the smartest person in the room, because that gives you the opportunity to learn more. And then I realized there was other groups where I've been a part of, and they say, you want to be the smartest person in the room. And I started really thinking about that and pondering both sides, because they're opposites. But here are two people that are dynamic, that are both leaders in their own right. And that was when I realized that even if you consider yourself the smartest person in the room, it doesn't mean you have to be the most vocal person in the room. And you might be silently watching, observing. So in your scenario of who to follow at a business etiquette, when there's 20 pieces of silverware and 42 glasses in front of you, it might not be the most boastful, vocal person. It might be more of a silent person that's really the leader in the room. And it could be the one that's like telling everybody the instructions too. So only you can make that determination there for that. And that's how I see. So observe the whole room, look at each and every person, and see who you align with, because that's going to tell you who to connect to, not necessarily to follow, but who to connect to.
Well, I think we should take the word follow out of the whole equation, frankly, because there are people who are leaders. Everybody's a leader in some fashion, in some context, with someone in their life. I mean, they're instructing their children, or they're guiding a parent or somebody, you know. I mean, it's not like there are leaders and no leaders, or leaders and just followers. We're all leaders to some extent. Now, some lead in business and some lead in, in other things, but we're all leaders. To that extent, if you want to go, back to what we were talking about originally in terms of role models, you can be a good role model or a bad role model, but you're still a role model. Jim, what say you, sir?
Well, you brought up the metaphor about the fine dining experience, and it just so happens that I spent most of my college years in New Orleans in some of those finest restaurants, and I can tell you behind the scene that we were in classes. We were meeting with the chef before the day, and he was going over every meal and every ingredient. We had wine distributors that would come in and give us courses on all the different wines. And the reason that I'm saying all this is because there was an expertise that was developed. And expertise is one characteristic that I encourage all youth to create, because that expertise is generally going to be your passion. Whatever you're passionate about, you develop that expertise because it will enable you in the future to be in positions of leadership where you're able to change the world, where you're able to monetize and create an affluent life for yourself, if that's what you want. But it's having that expertise as a leader so that you can also understand and even go ahead of someone in solving their problems, in seeing life through their own eyes, and solving and bringing solutions to them. So I have a strong belief and a real strong desire to encourage anyone out there to develop that expertise that generally is associated with leadership.
Oh, wow. Very cool. There's so many great answers, and we'll continue for a little while longer. But before we move on to closing thoughts, we want to introduce Alicia Magnus Lewis, who's joined us. Hi, Alicia.
Hello, Rex. Hello, everyone. How are you? I've been so enjoying this conversation, listening to everyone's perspective and thoughts. And I love what you shared, Donna. You were talking about how you've been in different rooms with different people leading events, and they've given you, I don't want to call them conflicting perspectives, but different perspectives on who you should be listening to and paying attention to in the room. And I think it brings up a really interesting kind of introspective lens on, does it have to be one or the other? Or can we just soak up the knowledge that individuals around us are sharing with us and take from them what may serve us, what may inspire us, what may influence us to do something maybe differently, and leave what may not, because those that are in the room that are leading, they've learned from someone. So what can we take from those that are there? And it may be the person that isn't showing themselves as a leader that has the most gems that we can soak up. So I love that you shared that perspective, because I think it's easy to go into any experience and say, I know this person's name, I know they're the leader, I'm going to listen and not listen or hear or actively hear what other people have to share. But part of that is kind of filtering within ourselves, like, what can we learn from this person? How can we soak it up? How can we use the information they've shared to benefit us long term or not? And we may not know what the impact will be until we try it out and test it out. And we may think that what we learned was amazing. I love that. I wrote it down, and then we try and it's ineffective. And it's just that kind of inquiry to figure out what do we do next? So I just wanted to share that. I love that share, Donna.
Thank you. So I kind of gave you a loaded example for a reason. And for those watching, and you may or may not understand the reason yet, but I'm going to tell you why I did it. But we had this word community come up. Jim mentioned expertise. Everybody's talked about different kinds of paying attention to different things that you learn, you extract because you're curious. You find your role models everywhere you can. Sometimes you're in a room with one set, another. Well, guess what's happening tomorrow? We have role models of all different walks of life. There's sports, business, influence, spirituality, love, relationships, finances, everything. They're role models. They are the exemplars who you and I and each of us on the panel can learn from by watching and listening and paying attention to what's important to them and how they got to be where they are, and learn from their journey. But also, if you want to be able to do what they're doing, it's the reason to pay attention. It's the reason to look at and notice that for the next 7 power-packed, powerful, positive, optimistic, wonderful, marvelous days, you have the opportunity to be surrounded by people in the tops of their field, and maybe not everybody's at the top of their field, but the tops of their field, and who are doing and walking and carrying out what they need to do in order to be successful, whether it's in their personal life or their business life. And that's the opportunity that we all have in LA Leadership Week, May 1st through the 7th. And that's why we're here with the powerful people around me to say, come and join us. Be there, register, get the replays, but not just that, benefit from those people around you, the ones who you'll see during these 7 days, because they're going to walk their talk, they're going to talk their walk, and they're going to make a difference in your life if you let them, because you're curious enough to allow them in just a little bit. You don't have to follow them, but you can learn from them. So in closing, Ava's back, and why don't we start with Ava? So we'll close in terms of, what do you think some of the benefits are that people can extract from being around the kind of people that you are and the people that we're going to have on the platform? Why should they be there this week? What are they going to take away?
Well, for one, being able to shorten the learning curve and the errors in our life. We can't live long enough to make all the mistakes. So learning from the mastery of others, talking about what Jim said, about building expertise, really being able to sit at the feet of people who have lived their life mastering something, developing expertise in something. And then all I got to do is just show up for that and receive that.
Awesome. We'll go up to Parisa and we'll work our way back around, and we'll close with Alicia.
I'd say momentum and clarity. That's what you're going to get. You're going to get some momentum for wherever you're going, whatever that looks like. You're going to hear something that's going to feed what you're needing, and that would provide clarity. So momentum and clarity, get your butt there. Can't wait to see you all.
Awesome. Dagmar?
Well, Napoleon Hill said that the starting point to achievement is a desire. So for those of our viewers who have a desire to be great, what's a better place to surround yourself with greatness and learn from those that are leading the way. I can't wait.
Donna?
Simply put, 2 words: confident knowledge. That's what I expect this week.
Beautiful. Julianne?
For me, I want to say it's an invitation to greatness, because there's a lot of us who are sitting back waiting almost for permission to really step into who we are and who we can become, and seeing how other people have done it and created amazing things out of nothing. Then that gives us the courage to do it ourselves. So for me, the word is invitation.
Beautiful. Jim?
Well, I mean, this event itself speaks for itself. This event was put together in 3 weeks. And with the work, particularly of Alicia and Ava, and of course Mo, and then the continued work of everybody that's on this screen, to be able to put together the probably the premier event in leadership that I've seen in 25 years of doing this, is just an example of what can be done when you put your mind to it.
Wow, that is beautiful. I would add right before Alicia, and that is, I hope that what people do is they get challenged, they get provoked, they get pushed a little bit, that they get out of their comfort zones, because some of the things won't fit for you. And being willing to explore those things means you can go outside of the box or outside of what you know to explore new areas and to discover your potential and the resources and the opportunities available to you. Alicia?
Wow. So many: invitation to greatness, confident knowledge, desire to be great. So powerful. What comes to mind for me is leadership comes in many forms, and it impacts many areas of your life, and it can influence many areas of your life. So we've brought together individuals across industries: health, wellness, mindset, development, authors that teach, that educate. It's really an experience to learn from those, like Ava said, that have reached a certain level of mastery or have figured something out that's effective, that's working, that has the ability to impact another individual. And so I'm excited for everyone to come together to experience what leadership is in its many forms, hearing from some of the most brilliant individuals across their industries that have truly been making an impact. LALeadershipWeek.com. We encourage everyone to RSVP. It is a virtual event. You don't have to fly to California. You can share it with your friends. Hop in, hop out. We encourage individuals to ask questions in the comments, to share like your reflections with the team about what the experience has meant for you. Reach one, teach one, celebrate with another. LALeadershipWeek.com, the first week of May. We hope to see all of you there as part of our community, virtually joining us to learn. So very, very excited. Back to you, Rex.
Wow. Well, I want to thank each of you who have contributed on the platform tonight: Donna and Dagmar and Jim and Julianne and Parisa and you, Alicia, and you, Ava. Without Alicia and Ava, we wouldn't be doing this at all, because it's one thing to have a vision, it's another thing to have the people who carry it out. And that's true of everybody here, as Jim had pointed out. So thank you all. Also, thank everyone who has watched and has commented in the chat room. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for caring. Thank you for being here and spending your time with us, because your time is valuable. We hope that this has been valuable for you. And if it's been valuable for you, we ask that you share it so that it can be valuable, hopefully, for those around you who you love and you care for, and that you would like to see at Leadership Week as well. Or if they can't make it or they won't make it, maybe they'll get something from a panel of people tonight who have presented some ideas that hopefully have helped illuminate, enlighten, make us more aware and more awake. And with that, I thank each and every one of you, and all of those of you who will watch this in the future too, because we and you together are that community that goes out and sends positive practices and principles and vibes and energy throughout the world to help make the world a better place. And you know what? The LA Tribune, Mo Rock, and everyone you see right here, and the speakers that are coming in the next couple of, they're all part of this vision and this mission to change the world through positivity and inspiration. So thank you all. Thank you all. And thank you
all.
all.
And to our CEO, Mo Rock, a phenomenal leader, a visionary, someone committed to uplifting consciousness around the world, impacting people positively and doing things differently, right? Really being the leader that's walking it and bringing individuals along to experience the journey. We appreciate you. We see your vision. Your leadership is truly phenomenal. So big, special shout out to Mo Rock.
Absolutely. So with that, we're going to say good night, goodbye. Be there tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time, live for the live event, but also register right now so that you get all the replays and all the good stuff. Thank you, everyone. And